Hello, this is Captain Meg with Botany Bay Eco Tours, and this is going out to Miss Bates' 6th grade class. I hope y'all are having a good day. It's a pretty day here. It's just perfect temperature, and there were a couple things I wanted to get out and share with y'all. This is a road on Edisto called Botany Bay Rd. There's a big wildlife management area at the end of the road, and it's open to the public. So if you ever get to Edisto, come down here and see this pretty road. This is an example in these trees of tropism. That's when, and this is part of what y'all learned about in science, how plants and animals can respond to external stimulus, and it can change their behavior. So these trees are exhibiting a response to an external stimulus. They arch over the road because this road has actually been here since the 1700s. So we know that it's been around a long time, and when they make a road, you have to clear it of trees. And so this was an opening, a long opening made by humans rather than, sometimes openings are made naturally by, like we had a tornado the other week that made some openings. It ripped up trees, and it allows sunlight to get to the forest floor. And I'm going to pan around. You see how it dapples the sun and the shade. So the plants that are in the understory, they either like the shade or they're trying to get bigger and they're just waiting for an opening. So when this road was built, it created an opening, and the plants started leaning toward the sunlight. And now, over time, they've crossed over the road. But that's an example of tropism. The trees are actually reaching out, changing their behavior based on external stimulus. Now I'm going to walk us back up to a native plant that has a chemical defense, but humans have often found ways to use plant chemical defenses as medicine in natural medicines used by early or native people. And this is a plant called coral bean or cardinal spear. And so I'm going to put the genus and species, I'm going to write it out. I didn't even want to try to pronounce it. That's the trouble with some of those names, but it's okay. It does have the genus and species name to distinguish it, because there are so many common names for it depending on where you find it growing. So by using the genus and species, we know no matter, you could be talking to a scientist around the world and they would know exactly what plant you were talking about. And I know that's something else y'all have gone over. So just wanted to zoom in. Sometimes it's not as important, or might never be important to know the name of a plant or an animal. What I mean by that is it's really hard to you can't know everything, and it's nice to know what's around you or what interests you, but sometimes you can just look at nature and know a little bit about it without knowing maybe the name of it, and then you may become curious and want to look it up. So let's look at these flowers for a second. They're tubular shaped. You can see it looks like a tube. They're red, which is very eye-catching, stands out in nature with all this green around it. And so in order to be pollinated, they're trying to attract pollinators that would either have a long beak like a hummingbird and could get up into that tube, or maybe some butterflies or moths. They often can unfurl their proboscis and reach into flowers. But this was the plant. In the fall it gets a bean, and the bean was used by early Native Americans along the coast in South Carolina, and they would grind up the bean and put it on the water, and it is a fish poison. The fish would come up to eat it, but the poison would stay in the gut of the fish and not contaminate the meat of the fish, so the people could then eat it. And when there were less people, that kind of hunting method worked. We can't use that kind of method today because it's indiscriminate, meaning any size fish or type of fish could be killed doing that. And that way, if people now did that kind of thing, it could skew the population of the fish. Say, for example, you killed a bunch of juvenile fish. Obviously, that would not be a good thing. But back then, there were just so few people using the land, and they needed techniques in order to be able to get protein, and fish poisons were one that were used, and this was the plant that they found it from. So other parts of the plant have been used as herbal remedies dating back, you know, even maybe before the 1500s here in South Carolina. So some interesting plants, tropism, and then a chemical, what is probably a defense for that plant, but was used by people in order to gather food. Thanks for joining me.